Hey everybody, you made it to Thursday, which is super awesome that you are still here with me. Today we're going to work on some alligator mouths. No, really, these are greater than, less than, equal to, but sometimes we teach it like an alligator mouth. There's his little teeth. Where we say the alligator always wants to eat the bigger number. So if you have two numbers and the mouth is pointing to the small one, that's not a very smart alligator because an alligator would want to eat the biggest amount. So we oftentimes will teach the less than, greater than, thinking about that alligator and which way would the mouth want to be open. So for today, you can do a couple different things. One, you can go get your writing utensil and your writing piece of paper or whatever you're going to write on. Or two, you can just kind of do some finger exercises, because if you want to use your alligator mouth or I'll have you do that. So I know that yesterday I said we usually have to get something to write on and something to write with. But today, because we're doing this, if you would prefer just to do your hands, it's a little trickier for me to do that way, then that is fine. All right. But we are going to be looking at greater than, less than, and equal to, and we want to make sure that our alligator mouth is pointing to the larger number. So, like I said yesterday, I'm going to start off with some easy ones, and I have a few tricky ones to see if I can kind of catch a couple of you. All right. So to get us started, let's just kind of warm up our brain with a few easy ones. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and write down a few numbers here. All right, so let's take a look at these two numbers. We've got 32 and 15. Now, for some of you, you might say, okay, well, I know that 32 is it greater than? That means larger, bigger, more. Or is it less than, smaller, littler, fewer than 15? Well, 32 is greater than. So that alligator mouth is going to open toward the 32. But we want to know, how do you know that? How do you know that 32 is greater than 15? Well, you might say, well, I count. Well, I know it in my head. Well, I know a lot of things in my head, but that doesn't mean I actually understand them. I might have just heard it one time. The reason we know that 32 is greater than 15 is because we can use our place value. We can look at our groups of 10. This one has 3 groups of 10, and this one only has 1. So that tells us that 32 is greater because it has more groups of 10. That's how you actually know. You might be able to count and say, I counted this first and I get that next, and so that's bigger. But the math behind it says that this has more groups of 10, so it is more. It is greater. So let's take a look at 46 and 85. Let's use that strategy of groups of 10. Here we have 4 groups of 10, and here we have 8. So which one is bigger? 8. 8 groups of 10 is larger than 4 groups. If you said, Miss Fonner, do you want 8 groups of 10 pieces of candy or 4 groups of 10 pieces of candy? I would say, well, I want 8 groups of 10. I want the most. So we're going to make that alligator mouth go toward the 85. But when we say it, we would say 46 is less than 85. And we can kind of remember that because when the alligator mouth is pointing to that larger number over here, it makes kind of like the letter L. That helps us say 46 is less than 85. Now let's look at 21 and 12. 21 and 12. Which one is greater? 21, because it has 2 groups of 10, and this one only has 1. So the alligator mouth would go toward this, and we would say 21 is greater than 12. Okay, Miss Fonner, but what if, right? We always have those what if questions. But what if, oh goodness, what if the number is 36 and 39? That has the same groups of 10, Miss Fonner, right? So your explanation doesn't work, Mrs. Fonner. Okay. I can't use my groups of 10. So then what am I going to have to go to? My ones. See, we're going to start with the 10s first because the 10s are bigger. I don't care if I have something with 5 ones and something with 3 ones. If I have 105 and just 3, I care about that group of 10 first. So that's what we want to look at first. But if that doesn't work for us, we've got a backup plan. Now we're going to look at our ones. We've got 6 ones or 9 ones. Which ones are greater, 6 or 9? Then 9 is greater. So even though our groups of 10 are the same, we wouldn't put equal. We have to look at our ones. And our 6 and our 9 will show us that the 9 is greater. Now if we're going to say it, we would say 36 is less, there's that L, than 39. Okay, so we always want to look at our group of 10s first, but if those groups of 10s are the same, then we can look at our groups of 1s and come up with our answer. All right, so here's where you're coming in. Let's check and see if you can figure out which one is greater or which one is less, and you're going to take your hands, if you want to put them right up on my video, and chomp the one that you want. That's fine too. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's take a look at our numbers here. 56 and 65. Which one would the alligator want? Is it this one? Or, oh, I can't do it this way. This one? Or are they equal? 56 or 65? Which one is greater? 65. If we look here at our groups of 10, this one has 5 groups and this one has 6. So that one is going to have the alligator mouth. But when we say it, we're going to say 56 is, what is it? Less than, there's our L, 65. All right, 88 and 84, which one is bigger? Well, if we look at our groups of 10, they're the same, so we have to look at our groups of 1s. 88 or 84, everybody? 88. We want that alligator mouth towards the 88. So let's say it together. 88 is greater than 84. All right, 93 and 39. 93, if we look at our groups of 10, 9 is bigger than 3, so how would we say it? 93 is greater than 39. All right, here's a couple challenge ones for you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a second to take a look at these because they're written a little bit differently. So we're used to seeing the numbers either just in the picture or just as our 2-digit number. But numbers can be represented lots of different ways. So we want to make sure that we understand how to read different ways of representing numbers. So here, you're going to have to do a little math first to figure out if this one is greater or less or equal to this picture. And down here, you're going to have to do a little reading. We don't like to read a ton in math, but sometimes we do. So you're going to have to see, well, what actually is 3 tens? And what is 2 tens plus 10 ones? And see what your answer is. So I'm going to give you a second to figure out which ones are greater than, less than, or equal to. And if you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that to try to figure it out. Okay, for those of us who are ready, we're going to go through this together. If you're still not ready, please pause the video. I don't want you just watching me the whole time. I want you actually using your math brain and trying to figure it out. All right, so here we have 42. If I'm looking at my tens, because that's a strategy we use when we're doing greater than, less than, or equal to, here's my tens. It's just in a picture. This one has 4 and this one has 3. So the alligator wants the bigger one, and so we would say 42 is greater than 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 34. Let's take a look down here. Well, we have to use our math brains when we added a group of 10. So if we have 17 plus 10, we're going to add those tens together, and that actually makes 27. 27 is less than, greater than, or equal to this number. Well, let's look. We've got how many groups of 10 here? 2. How many ones? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 27 is equal to 27. So even though this is written a little bit differently, it's still the same value as this. It's still 2 groups of 10, and it's still 7 ones. So they are equal. Now let's take a look at our last one. This is probably the most challenging of them because it's something we haven't really done in a while. We have learned about writing a number by breaking it down into tens and ones, but we might have forgotten because that was last week of how to do that. So if I have 3 tens, some of you might have said, well, Miss Fonner, this says 3 tens and this says 2 tens. So this is the bigger number. Well, that's where I tricked you. Because you're right that this says 3 tens and this says 2 tens. And so 3 is bigger than 2. But look at what else I put on here. I wanted you to add 10 more. So I'm actually asking you to do 2 tens, and even though this says 10 ones, what do 10 ones make? A group of 10. So this is actually 2 tens plus another group of 10, which would make it 3 tens. We could even draw it. 2 tens, and here's 10 ones. 10, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 3 groups of 10, 10, 20, 30. So they're actually equal. How many of you got that one right? What? I thought it was going to be tricky. So many of you got it. All right. So today's math lesson was looking at greater than, less than, and equal to, finding some strategies for you to figure out which one is the larger number, looking at our groups of tens first, then looking at our ones if our groups of tens are the same, but also keeping in mind your knowledge of adding and subtracting groups of tens and your knowledge of decomposing numbers. So it's important that you're doing a math lesson every day, because every day we're kind of building on top of that knowledge that we learned. So if you've missed any lessons, go back to our calendar and click on the lesson you missed so you can stay on track. Be sure to check out IXL and any math lessons that are starred for you, so you can have a little extra practice in your mathematics today. All right, I will see you next Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your fun Friday activity tomorrow, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.